And looks like we are underway. There we go. On Thundermustache's side and Muttski's side now. Link getting woken up just in time for the race. Here the players are going to just walk right out the door. They're late to something, and they gotta hurry. Gotta make it to the castle. Rescue Zelda. She's all the way down in the basement. Guarded by the ball and chain guard. Not too much to talk about early on in this run, other than just some very small sort of points of randomness in the run. Mostly just optimized movement, but the patterns of the enemies are random. And so the runners will be trying to read what's going on with the enemies so that they can most efficiently move across these screens. And so players are going to mash through some text boxes, get their sword, not choose to get the lamp in the uncle's house, but they will get it down in Zelda's cell. There are a few different chests that the lamp can be placed in, whether you choose to get them right away or not, and the fastest of those is the one down with the uncle, or sorry, in Zelda's cell, sorry, not in the uncle's house. So that's where players will choose to get it, unless of course you're me, in which case you just walk right on over and grab it in uncle's house because you like time losses. But so far, both players moving quite nicely. Muttski getting some bad guard RNG, that's what I was talking about there. They kind of clustered up there. The players kind of want to stick along the right side of that wall because it's the fastest way through that room. It requires the least path length. But unfortunately, those green guards were in the way. He got a nice little damage boost forward, and it didn't slow him up too much. And I see something from Greenham in the chat. He says that these guys made an agreement before the race started that they will be skipping Sankheart and hovering Moldorm too. I have no idea if I'm being trolled right now. But I'm announcing it. And we'll see if the players do that or not. But so far, some really nice sync from the players. Muttski trying to get that heart there, but the boomerang stopping short. So what Greenham's referring to with Sankheart is the heart in the sanctuary as the players come out of this escape. It is one of the most valuable and lowest cost safeties for runners. It's an entire extra heart container for the entire run. And so you only see absolutely top players choose to skip it. Costs, I think, about 3 to 4 seconds. And yeah, it's something you'll only see players really skip when they get down into the 124, 125 range for most players. There are exceptions, but we might see the players skip it today. We'll find out here probably in about another 2.5 minutes.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going? Looks like I am joined now by Scrivo. Wasn't sure if he was going to be able to make it, but how are you doing today?
I'm well. My wife is watching awful TV. I'm watching the race anyway. Let's talk about it.
That sounds like exactly what I would be doing with my evening. But here I am.
I did get here just in time to see both of our runners not get the green guard quick kill and escape, so that was an interesting thing to show up to. Hopefully the rest of their escape goes better.
Yeah, I mean, so far Thundermustache is setting himself up nicely for skipping a few frames by reducing lag when he gets the Sanctuary by having 1 heart. Hopefully that holds up for the rest of the escape here.
Yeah.
And Muttski's at 2 hearts, so he's going to need to take a couple hits here as he gets into the back of the escape.
Well, luckily, you should be able to get through escape with 1 heart. I wouldn't be surprised to see TM pick up this heart pot here in the first room of the back half of escape. And there it is.
I was going to say, and Muttski as well. You had the read.
TM
so
getting
far,
through the snakes nicely.
Yeah, not too bad on the rope RNG. So far, things have been going pretty much as expected. I see in chat from Greenham a bit of an alert that the players may have committed to skipping Sankheart and hovering Moldorm too. And so if they do skip Sankheart, taking that safety there, particularly from 2 hearts to back to full health for Muttski, would make a lot more sense to just grab that kind of nearly free refill, since they won't be getting a refill in Sanctuary if they do choose to skip Sankheart.
Yeah, it is worth mentioning, I'm sure you already mentioned this, but both TM and Muttski have already advanced to brackets. So this race is mostly to potentially improve their bracket seeding. However, there is also a bit of honor on the line, as Muttski and TM are fierce competitors. They actually despise each other and want nothing more than to see the other crushed before them. It may not be that serious. That's just what I heard. So there are a few friendly wagers involving, like you said, the hovering, and we'll see if the Sankheart is skipped, as you said.
Yeah, we're coming up on it, and thundermustache has held up his end of the bargain, and there goes Muttski. No Sankheart today. I was unaware of the fierce competition between these 2 runners, but had mentioned a little bit about what times the runners already had for the tournament for seeding and their position in brackets. But to recapitulate a bit, we'll be looking for Muttski to try and cut a 1:29.25, 2 minutes over his PB, so I have faith that he's going to get it done. And similarly, thundermustache going to be looking to cut the 1:32.10 as he's walking over to Eastern Palace now. And that's over 2 minutes behind his PB, about 2:20 behind his PB. And so there's plenty of room for both these runners to improve their bracket seeding in this race.
Yep. And of course, there is also now the potential for a gold Eastern for both of these, as they are unburdened by the 3 seconds typically lost to the Sankheart. TM, however, giving a portion of that up straight away in the overworld, having to deal with some Octoroks.
Yeah, TM at half a heart already. We'll see if he can parlay this into a gold Eastern. But we're in for a little bit of a clench on the left side of the screen, so let's see if he can get these hearts, get his health back in order before he has this the big key skip.
Yeah, he'll get one here in the room after cannonballs. There's a heart pot to the right of the switch that he'll grab.
Yeah, I think we'll get the switch heart here, and then we'll also probably get one in the Stalfos room. It's not too inconvenient. We'll see if he takes this one here.
Yeah, he'll need at least one more.
Yeah. So for anyone not too familiar with that Stalfos room, basically the players are going to walk in a particular pattern. Normally that room would spawn 4 Stalfos. You're able to manipulate it in such a way that it will only make you need to eliminate 2 of those spawn points. Runners will do that by throwing pots at them in order to open the door. The other Stalfos would spawn under a pot and off the screen, and both runners getting it perfectly.
Alright, we're heading into the dark key room. Let's see if any of them go for swag. There's TM with the diagonal boom. My man.
You want to explain the utility of that diagonal boom? Because it was not obvious to me.
So, it is, at least in my testing, and of course, I always do things in the optimal amount of frames. In my testing, it's a few frames faster, and also, it looks cool as hell, so... And speaking of cool things, you just saw both of those runners using a damage boost to get through those anti-fairies and pick up a pot and step up the switch utilizing the iframes. Normally you gotta kill everything there to clear the anti-fairies to get that big key. Not speedrunners, no sir.
Yeah, interesting, thundermustache going to the right side of that chest, reading the Stalfos RNG in such a way that he might have wanted to go off around the right side and then decide to double back. Losing a little bit of time with some extra lateral movement here before gifted with greenies. but still on a pretty good pace through Eastern. The next thing we'll really see, the next point of substantial RNG and variance is how these runners are going to execute the Zelda Gamer Room. There's a red Igor and 2 Stalfos, and reading the pattern in that room can really, really reward you if you get some good RNG for getting through it quickly. And nice on Thunder Mustache's side and Muttski, getting slightly different patterns, but both of them are through it very cleanly. And Thunder Mustache having a little bit of trouble with these second red Igors, but getting the 2 cycle.
But he misses the red drop.
Yeah, skipping. That was interesting.
It despawned right in front of him. He went for it, and it disappeared right before he could grab it. But both runners doing well to clean up Armos on the quick kill. Only a few seconds separate them.
Yeah, this is so far the nice race that we thought we would have on our hands. I think it's going to be very close between these runners for as long as they can both avoid major mistakes. They're both just excellent runners of this game. And so I think we're going to be in for a real treat for the next, hour and 20 minutes roughly.
Yeah. TM is actually interesting in that I believe, if I'm not wrong, he got sub 130 in low percent before he got a sub 130 in NMG, which is an interesting progression. But that's how it happened for him. So,
wow.
Low percent, obviously a much harder category.
Yeah, I didn't know any of that actually. So what we see right here, the runners are using a Japanese 1.0 specific glitch we call spin speed. So called because the runners will charge a spin attack with the sword by holding the B button. Once that charge is stored, they'll release that B button and tap A 1 frame afterwards, and that will put Link into a glitch state where the game thinks he's dashing all the time, but they can walk freely around. We'll see that come up and save time for the runners a few different points in the run. Here early from Eastern Palace, also coming up here on this next screen by the library, and Muttski getting it pretty cleanly, getting stuck on that cliff just a little bit. Thunder Mustache, because it's a minor time save, choosing to skip a little bit of a divergence. But you were mentioning that red that Thunder Mustache couldn't quite get in the red Igor room. You want to explain a little bit about early game rupee routing?
Yeah, so one of the things that we do is we need to get 110 rupees to enter pod. And we will... The old way to do that was to get 100 rupees from the back of Sahasrarla's hut, but that's slow, and there's a faster way. You'll see some trees being pulled slightly after the Tower of Hera split ends, and they'll use those tree pulls to get the bulk of their rupees. Basically, they are hoping to have 14 rupees before they exit Hera. Right now, both of them are a little short. They have the option to pick up a backup pot in Desert or hope for drops, but they just need to make sure that they have 110 required to enter pod before finishing up the Light World. Yeah,
they'll find an option of up to 20 out of the first tree, and if it's done right, 80 out of the second. But and they'll get 6 in Hera, 6 in Aghanim's Tower. But it's a lot easier if they don't need to go out of their way for some of those blues.
Yeah, optimally, you only grab 1 or 2 of those blues. As you said, you can get up to 4 of them for 20. But there's a guaranteed 5 in Desert that they might opt for if they don't see any drops.
And for anyone just joining us, the players, Thunder Mustache and Muttski, both already guaranteed to make it into the single elimination brackets, but have a bit of a friendly wager. The players have agreed to skip Sankheart, which we can see that's why they now have 4 hearts instead of 5. And they've also, my understanding is, agreed to hover Moldorm too. We saw Muttski, while Thunder Mustache was taking a nap, warming up on some hovers. And so we'll see if that hover warm-up makes his end game just a little bit cleaner.
Yeah, TM might still be wiping the sleepies out of his eyes. He got hung up a little bit there in the room before cannonballs, and then took some damage from the cannonballs. He might not yet. He might not be awake yet, but we'll see if he tightens it up a bit.
Yeah, that bonk supports your thesis, so we'll see. Hopefully the coffee sets in.
Interesting thing about that bonk is if you do bonk there, when you're coming back through after getting the gloves, you've actually cycled the devil ant, so you can just dash past it. Let's see if he knows that.
Looks like he skipped on that one.
Yeah, you can actually just dash straight right if you bonk the first time through the room. It's a little backup to know. Oh, Muttski going for Desert 2 spin speed. The madman.
And thundermustache. Both players getting it very cleanly, too. Nicely done. I think that's what, 10 frames, 20 frames, something like that saves, with the potential risk of, almost a minute time loss.
It is very high risk and low reward.
Yeah.
There's Mutt getting his rupees, so he's set. He's got the 17. He only needs 14, really.
Yeah, lots of rupees in these Popo prize packs, so it was good to see him be able to pick up some of those. TM's still at 11, so he does need to pick up a few more. But
arrow counts bear mentioning, though. Mutt has the 30. That is good to see, and TM has 27, which is also a good number. You want at least 25 going into this fight, but 30 is even better.
Wow, that first cycle there was superb from Muttski. Oh, almost had that Lambo there for the 2 cycle. And gets it in 3. That was a nice Lambo fight.
Yeah, TM's isn't all that bad either. Just got a short hop there.
Yeah, wow, nicely done. I think that was a 3 cycle for Muttski and a 4 for TM.
May have been either a late 4 or a mid 5. But with a 17-15 sword up, that's a pretty good light world time for Mutt.
Absolutely, it obliterates what I can do. I assure you.
So. The next thing that you're going to see, we talked about Japanese 1.0 exclusive glitches, and here's one coming up right now. It's called Fake Flippers. Basically, by jumping into the water 1 frame's movement away from the screen transition, the game takes 1 frame from the time you land in the water to check if you have the flippers. You can use that 1 frame of leeway to transition. The game will bypass the check, and there you see Muttski can swim. The only caveat there is if you get hit while you're in that fake flipper state and you're not on the screen you jumped in on, you will soft lock. So hopefully Muttski got through clean. Let's see what TM does. Very nice.
Also clean. Didn't get to point out there, but if anyone saw it, TM went for and got his cactus dash on desert exit. It was pretty swell. You don't see that too often.
Oh, he also got the lineup to do the arrow on the green buzz blob there. Saves a little bit of time. Loses it right back by slowing down and grabbing the wall, but it's a game of give and take.
Yeah, that's the thing, is with this game, every screen, there's so much potential to just lose little bits of time that just bleed out over the course of a run. And so that's where we're going to see runners separate themselves, especially in the time range that these runners perform in.
Mutt getting hit by a piece of the crag here on the aggro crag. So down a heart. This is the split where we're skipping the sand cart makes a difference. Because you're going to take a heart of damage from the bomb jump. You have taken a heart of damage now from the cabbages. And it's pretty easy to take extra damage going through Hera if you're not careful in the tile room or if you get an unfriendly Moldorm fight. So got to keep an eye on the health on Muttski's side. 4 hearts should be good, but anything can happen.
Yeah, are a couple, or there's at least one easy to grab heart in here in Petting Zoo, but there's the potential to lose much more than that. So hopefully good RNG and good behavior from all the denizens of Hera. So far, the aggro crag was not too unkind, so things are going all right so far. Looks like Muttski's set here. See if he can get this to get his coffee break set up.
He's a little far left. We'll see what happens if he goes for it. Okay, he was high enough.
Yeah, put himself in baby jail, but that means no coffee break, but he will be able to save a little bit of time in this next room. Looks like Thundermustache is going for it now, and the same outcome.
Oh, but he takes the heart of damage. So they are now matched up as far as health situations go.
Absolutely. At parity now, so yeah, what a race.
So a good benchmark of play here is your time mirroring after this big key, and a sub 21 mirror is a pretty fast time. So Mutt is clearly on a pace that belies his PB. TM not that far behind.
Yeah, I don't have too much experience with a lot of the common benchmarks that runners will use, so I appreciate you sharing your insight throughout the run with regards to that, because all I know is the runners are going much faster than I can complete any of these tasks, but we'll see if, yep, and Muttski's going to grab that Petting Zoo heart, and we'll see if Thundermustache.
Oh, that's interesting. He hit the star and had to go get the other one. He could have just chosen to do the bomb jump on the short side and hope the spark doesn't get him, but he went back and corrected the star.
Yeah, it was unusual. Looks like Thundermustache a little bit more of a typical strat there.
Yeah.
But didn't lose too much time for it. It's good when the runners have their backups in order.
Takes a little bit of damage, so TM down to 2 hearts. Mutt still with 4 and into the Moldorm pen.
6 hits of any sort to dispatch Moldorm. Most of the sword charging and holding out, mostly related to just trying to keep yourself on the platform. And really nice behavior there for that last hit for Muttski.
TM getting a little bit of bad luck here with Moldorm staying on the left side, but handling it well.
Ooh, down to 1 heart.
Yeah, Moldorm does 1 heart of damage. There we go. Very nice.
Sniped him. Nicely done.
Looks like it's going to be a 2250 sword up Hera for Mutt, and about a 2303 for TM, I think, if my catch times are right. Oh, 5. So again, talking about that arrow count, Mutt is in a really good position here. He's going to use probably 6 arrows in Aghanim's Tower and get 5 of them back. So he'll have 16 arrows going into the Dark World. That actually sets him up pretty well for the arrow routing for the rest of the game. TM, meanwhile, is going to, again, use 6, get 5 back, and use most of those in pods. So he's going to... And even a 5-drop from Mutt, that's little things like that are going to make a difference over the course of the Dark World. So arrow and bomb routing is a thing to keep an eye on.
And TM taken 3 to hit that Buzz Blob, so now down to 3 arrows. The strats that are going to be available to him early on in Aghanim's Tower are going to be a little different.
Oh, he risked it for the biscuit with that bird, but was able to get through damageless. He's going to have to choose. I'm guessing he's going to use his 2 arrows on the 2 gold knights, and then he'll have to play around with a later room with 2 red spear guards. But that probably was... I don't know if he knew his arrow count, if he noticed it, but probably could have gone without shooting that arrow, those arrows at the Buzz Blob.
Yeah, we saw Muttski choose to kill the bird, and that on his way in, and that could have made up for that kill from the Buzz Blob, but...
So there's the 4 red
far.
rupees we talked about earlier, coming out of the tree for Muttski. Basically, certain trees, paintings, statues, etc. give rupees when you pull on them, and it gives rupees based off of how many enemies you've killed since the last time you pulled, and whether or not you've taken damage. If you kill 4 enemies without taking damage, you get 4 reds. 4 enemies with damage is 4 blues. Less than 4 enemies is greens. And if you haven't killed anything, then you'll just get a dry pull on the tree.
Yeah, and we saw both runners executing proficiently their rupee route and getting that 4 reds on their way out of the Lost Woods. So Thundermustache doesn't look like he's okay for Pod right now. Neither does Muttski, but there are 6 arrows, or sorry, I'm thinking about Thundermustache's arrow situation, but there are 6 rupees in a pot in the circle, or under 2 pots in the Circle of Pots rooms upstairs in Aghanim's Tower that the runners will be picking up. And so they will both be set up for to pay Kiki when they get to Pod.
Yep.
And
so here's where the arrow decisions start. There's TM choosing to do the din-din and not fire off arrows. Kind of an odd choice. He must just want to conserve arrows altogether.
Yeah, and I don't blame him for that call, honestly. Being down to 3 arrows here, it's a little bit of a sketchy situation. We also saw both runners killing those blue guards with a combination of sword beams and a dash. The blue guards share a prize pack with some of the enemies that we'll be encountering in Turtle Rock, and the runners want to keep up a prize pack for Turtle Rock so they can manipulate a drop of a fairy and potentially also a full magic refill when they get there, and that really starts right here in Aghanim's Tower. So if you dash into an enemy, it will never drop anything, in the same way that if you stun an enemy with, say, the boomerang or hookshot, it will always drop a green rupee. And so you can keep that prize pack from progressing, and so they're going to be very careful about what they do to these blue guards.
Well, meanwhile, I was talking about Mutt and having all those extra arrows, and he's decided that you can't take them with you when you go. He used 1 in the Dark Maze, wasted a couple on the 2 red spear guards, and chose to use another one in Circle of Pots, which I believe is actually faster, but does not quite have the arrow surplus that he had before. Still in a really good position, though. 16 leaving Aghanim's Tower is pretty good count.
Yeah, and we're coming up on Aghanim 1, of course. One of the big points of RNG in the run that the runners cannot avoid. Both of their PBs cite getting exactly 1 blue ball, so hopefully we'll be rooting for that 1 blue ball so they can keep their pace relative to their... But basically, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th attack in each 5 attack cycle by Aghanim can have a 50-50 chance of being either a white ball or a blue ball. And the blue balls cannot damage Aghanim, so there's Muttski's blue ball, hopefully no more to keep pace with the PB. And alas.
Yeah, every blue ball costs 6 seconds. Blue balls 3, 7, 11, and 15 cost an extra 6. TM is about 19 seconds behind entering the Aghanim fight, but blue balls are leaving that out in a hurry.
So far, I think we have 2 for Muttski and 2 for Thundermustache, though, so I think we're at parity if I'm counting right.
Well, we'll see here. If Mutt gets the kill before the last lightning cycle.
Yeah,
That's probably 3 for Mutt.
Yeah, I've definitely seen 3. It's at least that, so he will be getting a 2nd lightning cycle, unfortunately. It looks like it was 3, and that's also 3 for Thundermustache, so hopefully no more blue balls. And 4, so Thundermustache will be losing at least 6 seconds relative to Muttski here, by no fault of his own.
Yeah, the only thing you can really do to mitigate time loss in the Aghanim fight is to set up your spins on Aghanim to try to send him back towards the center to give him a chance to have the least amount of travel to his next warp. But when he's up against the wall, there's not much you can do.
Yeah, it was 3 versus 5,
Yep.
And so I think we'll see Thunder Mustache about 30 seconds behind here at Sword Up, based on when the runners went into the fight.
Yep.
So
30
probably a 37 to 30-40 here for Thunder Mustache.
30.06 Sword Up for Mutt. Missing the spin speed, but just dashes away.
And so this next dungeon, the aforementioned pod that the runners are going to need to pay that 110 rupees to get into. Also, one of the biggest points where runners may want to actually have that Sanctuary Heart, the boss Helmasaur deals 2 damage from any type of hit. And so the runners will only have 2 hits to give rather than 3 for skipping that Sank Heart. So we'll see if that comes into play, if they have to end up taking things a little more carefully later in the dungeon.
And going for the Kiki dash there. Tries to slingshot Kiki as close to the entrance to pod as possible, but still had to see a little bit of monkey walk.
And we'll see how Thunder Mustache does. But what you'll see is the runners will dash cancel at some point on their way before they hit the door, because if Kiki is far behind you, he takes a very leisurely stroll. And Thunder Mustache getting the rare aggro Moblin RNG, but reading it very well. That could have been a disaster, but was not. So good on Thunder Mustache for avoiding that spear.
Absolutely.
Is that a 1 in 32, that RNG?
I have no idea. All I know is every time I've seen it, I've lost my monkey. So
yeah, I've only gotten it a couple times, and it's ended badly at least once for me. So now I'm hyper cognizant when I go there, because you don't want to lose your monkey.
Nope. So we'll be coming up shortly on the second of our bomb jumps here in Pod. You will see the hammer jump. The hammer jump is it's basically a slight clip through a rail. You have to place a bomb on a specific Y coordinate and move Link to a specific Y coordinate to get a direct horizontal bomb boost through the rail, so you can avoid going to the basement for a key and going through a maze. And Mutt is coming up on that shortly.
Yeah, and his health is in great shape here, so thankfully the heart from this bomb will not keep him off of sword beams late. But it is double Y pixel perfect, and so you'll see him use various sword and pause buffers to set that up, and doing a great job there, getting it very quickly. I think only 1 extra buffer there.
Yep. Mutt's actually one of the few people that can somewhat reliably hover the hammer jump. If you wish to show off, you can skip the whole bomb portion of that and just hover off the side and clip into the rail yourself. But far too dangerous to do in the course of a race.
Yeah, I think we saw him do it when he was warming up here. We saw him hovering this gap, and oh, Thunder Mustache missing that bomb jump, getting the wall bombed open, but just not quite getting his position set right. He's going to reset it and try again. And using some select buffering, a little bit faster because you don't need to watch that box scroll on and off, with the unfortunate risk of potential to save and quit and invalidate a run, but he was able to dodge that and get through cleanly on the second try.
Alright, so Mutt getting through the pod mimics now. TM is down 3 hearts, but there are 3 hearts to pick up right before the mimics. He'll just have to grab a couple of extra skulls to grab them.
And I believe we will see him grab those because oh no!
Now he's got a problem.
Yeah, this is... Now he will not have sword beams here. He'll need to menu to boomerang or bow, hopefully boomerang.
He'll also have to grab an arrow pot, because he wasted an arrow going for the crystal switch. Now he only has enough for the mimics, does not have enough to arrow the eye statue.
Yeah, we'll see if that red Igor drops. Nope, no arrows, so he will have to grab the pot.
Muttski getting through the turtle room and on to Helma. And now TM can only take one hit from Helmasaur. So
yeah,
it is a much different fight for TM than Mutt.
Absolutely, especially these fireball attacks. Being able to be a little more aggressive around them.
Yeah.
And especially phase 2 when Helmasaur can do 1, 2, or 3 attacks randomly.
Yeah, the order that the fireballs will explode, very nice fight from Muttski. The order the fireballs explode is random, but once they start, or I shouldn't say the order, the first one that explodes is random, but once they start, they will always explode in a clockwise pattern. So as long as TM positions himself in such a way that he can dodge whichever one starts, he should be okay.
Yeah, and then if one of the fireballs ends up off screen, it will not explode, but the timer will continue as if that fireball were there and exploding if it's part of a clockwise pattern. So that's a nice thing that not a lot of folks know, at least when starting out. And so we saw TM trying to wait for a fireball to try and despawn that.
Going for the hammers.
Yeah, that was a
fear.
nice fight there. Didn't quite get that fireball despawn, was just on the leading edge of it just by a little bit, but makes up for it and gets a clean no-hit fight there.
Now Mutt is ahead by exactly 1 crystal cutscene.
Yeah, this maiden, one of the chattier maidens though, so it is a longer cutscene, but yeah, the runner's still very close.
Yes, there are plenty of things that can go wrong for one runner or the other that can either widen or eliminate the gap. It is what we've seen in this tournament is that no matter what happens, the race is not over until the Ganon and until the pig is dead. So don't take a 1-minute deficit and count TM out yet.
Oh gosh, no. That's one of the things that I really like about A Link to the Past NMG as a run, is that the progression does scale with your progression through the progression of difficulty does scale generally with your progression through the run, and a lot of the really bad RNG is very early in the run.
Yeah.
And so there's a bunch of potential for major time losses late, but most of them are all your fault when you get them.
Yeah, the only real respite as far as difficulty scaling goes... Oh, there goes 2 hearts from TM, jumping into the Ropa. The only real respite from the difficulty progression is that we do Dungeon 2 much later than you would think, just based off of where it's located. So once you get there, you're overpowered, you have the Tempered Sword. Nothing's going to kill you, but it is still a dungeon that's easy to lose a lot of time in.
Yeah, I'm still not at the point where I fully understand where I'm losing time in my swamp splits. That dungeon can just nickel and dime you in time and in health.
Yeah, it's if you're like everybody else, the answer is everywhere. But we've got Mutt is blowing his flute for a bird, and TM is digging up his flute. And we're going to be off to Thieves Town. Thieves Town is the 4th dungeon canonically, but it is going to be the 2nd one that we do because it will give us the Titan's Mitts, which are needed to unlock the Tempered Sword, and getting that Tempered Sword as quickly as possible makes the remainder of the game slightly easier.
Yeah, and something we haven't seen a lot until this point. We're seeing the runners run around with their hammer hoisted high in the air. That's another utilization of a Japanese 1.0 exclusive glitch called item dashing, where the runners can simultaneously dash and use an item, in this case the hammer, if they tap dash and item and use the item on the same frame, so tap Y and A at the same time on their controllers. And that has the effect of the runners running straight ahead and mowing down these pegs, and we've seen it a few different times, notably on the exit from Pod, and now about to be again on thundermustache's screen as he is headed in toward this portal over toward Thieves Town.
Yeah, and we also saw it from both runners and Hera. They used an item dash with the boomerang in the tile room. A less common variation of it, but it's the same general idea of item and dash on the same frame.
And a little bit of an unfortunate point of sort of minor RNG there for Thundermustache, bonking a skull that randomly can pop out of those bushes in the Dark World. Quite literally nothing you can do about it, but they are on a cycle, so he will know that he is unlikely to see one of those again.
Muttski, being the gentleman that he was, however, evened it up by bonking on the key torch.
Yeah, and
this Hellway.
Yeah, getting a little held up by the Hellway, unfortunately. We'll see if Thundermustache can make up some time there. But thankfully, he didn't take too much damage there. Getting a little beat up, but his health is still in an okay spot. Once that room goes wrong, it can go very, very wrong, so it was good to see him get through with quote-unquote only 3 hearts lost.
Yeah. Blind is a boss that you wouldn't think is terribly easy or terribly safe, but the way that we approached this fight, by following a set pattern of actions and a set pattern of responses from Blind, it's really not a fight that a skilled runner has to worry about their health in. But you still don't really want to take a whole lot of chances. See if Mutt grabs any of the... Well, TM,
Ooh.
my dude.
Yeah, he got a little beat up by this Hellway, and he is...
And then another from a spike.
Yeah, flirting with disaster here. Hopefully these... Are they gremlins, I think is the name of them? Hopefully they cooperate here in the upstairs.
Yeah,
Oh. Oh, no!
Okay. Oh, that is a bad death.
Yeah.
That is not. There are deaths that aren't quite as bad. That's a bad one because he's got to go all the way back through the Hellway now.
Yeah, hopefully the second trip through the Hellway treats him a little better. Yeah. He'll have to hit that switch again, go up. He didn't get the floor bombed out, so he does need to go all the way back upstairs. And then he'll be following kind of the normal path downstairs and completing the dungeon. But he pretty much does need to redo all of the dungeon.
Yeah, nothing's over yet. As we mentioned, there's still plenty of places for the match to even up. If Cold Stare goes poorly for Muttski or Vitreous, there's certainly plenty of opportunities left for this to be evened out. But Muttski is now establishing with this blind kill a commanding lead.
Yeah, his lead's in a good situation for sure. Got the first 8 hits on blind pretty much exactly according to the script that he wanted, and then adapted very nicely to missing that 9th hit and didn't get too messed up by that fight, so has made it through pretty cleanly. We're going to see him go from here to get some rupees and go rescue a frog trapped behind the lamest jail in Hyrule.
The frog is not trapped, it can jump down. It's a frog.
I'm telling you, it's a crappy jail.
I have feelings about this frog.
I think we agree on this, how crappy a jail. Like, I don't know why it needs to be rescued, but he's gonna go do it. And he's gonna get rewarded with a super cheap sword, so, you know, there is upside to this, but for the frog, it seems like a bad deal.
So Mutt's gonna grab 300 rupees from this house. We need 500 total to get the flippers later on. Conveniently, there are 2 300 chests here in Dark World Kakariko.
But yeah, Here you go. The frog, apparently scared of heights, has been let free by use of Titan's Mitts, and Muttski is going to mirror back to the light world and deliver what is now a dwarf to his dwarven buddy, Breadsmith. And they will offer him a 10 rupee sword upgrade. And Muttski, I think, is going to be savvy enough to take the deal.
Meanwhile, TM is having a pretty decent blind fight here. 7, 8, and 9. There we go. Both of them having slightly off-script third phases, but cleaning them up nicely.
Yeah, and I think TM's was a little faster, but not substantially. And really, once you're through those first 2 phases, the third one's not too hard to kind of sight read if you mess it up a little, as we saw both players adapt very easily to the patterns they were seeing.
Yep. Now, the biggest question is, will Muttski get the fence dash? Because if he doesn't, I fully expect him to go back and try it again until he does.
I think you just reset the splits and try again next time. But oh, okay, yeah, bonking, but then getting it. So
what a shameful display.
It's unfortunate. It's a major time loss, but that'll give TM some time to catch up here. See if his fence dash goes better.
Meanwhile, Mutt making his way into Skull Woods. One of the more another bonk. It's somebody has secretly replaced Muttski's console for an emulator. Let's see if he notices. Now, Skull Woods casually, real quick. Look at this frog. It's jumping. It's standing right there and jumping. It can jump. Oh, TM going for just press A.
You want to explain that?
So if you pick up the top rock and you walk forward a little bit and you just press A, you can talk to the frog a little bit quicker.
I was unaware. I was debated by this. I did not know what was going on. I'd never seen that before.
Nobody does it. What are you doing, Mutt? These walls aren't moving. I'm going to have a talk with him.
Link is really fast. It looked like there was some up again with the debated. We were tricked.
You can't start and then stop the hover. There is no hover interruptus. I'm gonna have a serious talk with this man after this race. TM's got his sword. Mutt has got his shame. And I hope it weighs on him, heavy on his soul, for the rest of his life. See if TM gets the fence dash.
He's buffering so he doesn't bonk on that one. That's an important one to not bonk on.
TM is declared the winner of the race.
But both players will be back for brackets, regardless of who wins this. So they will each have an opportunity to redeem themselves. At least one.
Muttski may win the race, but TM has won our hearts. And that's what matters. This Mummy Hellway, though. The past 4 minutes have not been kind to Muttski. He's been making some a not trivial amount of unforced errors. Now he does have a cushion, but he's down to 4 hearts going into Moth.
And I couldn't tell. It didn't look like that double hit stuck. So, yeah. Moth hugging the spikes, unfortunately. Moth's gonna have to be careful.
The longer this fight goes, the more likely you are to die, but he gets it.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, Moth comes back to the center. Now let's see what TM does. See if he hovers or bomb jumps. No, he's gonna bomb jump too. Oh, he tried.
It was close.
He tried to do the sword spin lineup. There he goes.
Yeah, it's a nice newer lineup to ensure that you were exactly 1 pixel away, or on the last pixel before the edge. That's what we saw him doing there.
Yep.
And getting it on the second try, which is not quite as good as the first try, but it'll do for now.
Yeah, the key thing to know is that he is now also down to 4.5 hearts. And as we just saw on the right side, Moth can go sideways quick, so...
Yeah, Muttski now out of the crystal cutscene. Gonna see him mirror and then go immediately to 4 probably and clean up some of the overworld stuff. It's not all dungeons in this run, it's just dungeons as quickly as we can, but there are some overworld errands, so we're gonna see him go get his flippers and get his Quake medallion here. While, 3.5 hearts now for Thundermustache, so... And revealing a wall behind the vine curtain.
Yeah, they will be completing all of the dungeons, but they won't necessarily be doing them in the order that the game dictates. So, we mentioned that we haven't done Swamp yet, even though it's the second dungeon, and that's because it's quicker to get the flippers at the same time that you get the Quake Medallion. You need the Titan's Mitts to get to the Quake Medallion quickest. So this is just how it works out. So we'll get Quake, we'll get flippers, and then there happens to be a warp right by the flippers and Quake that takes you over to Ice Palace. So we'll see the Grand Tour, but not necessarily in the order suggested.
Yeah, the other substantial overworld errands that the runners really can feel free to do pretty much whenever they want, but there are some specific times that most runners do choose to do them, are to go up Death Mountain to get the Ether Medallion, and also go over to the Ice Rod Cave, kind of down in the general vicinity of Ice Palace, but it is still out of the way, to go get the Ice Rod. Those are the sort of other overworld items the runner is going to need to complete the run, but the rest of everything can be gotten from dungeons.
Yeah, so Mutt's got his flippers now, and he will be heading over to Ice Palace.
And we see Thundermustache still within striking distance for sure. Despite that Thieves Town death, not actually all that far behind.
Nice water walk there from Muttski.
Yeah,
dash just on the right pixel, it looks like you're dashing in the deep water there.
Yeah, I think that he might have been on the top pixel that you can dash there, where the game still considers that shallow water. It was very nice.
And now on to Ice Palace for Muttski while TM completes the shopping trip. Ice Palace is... You're not going to see most of it. It is the home of the 4th of our 4 bomb jumps, the Ice Palace bomb jump. It is pretty much breaks this dungeon wide open. You're supposed to do a couple of laps around the dungeon and do a puzzle with some pegs and some blocks, but that sucks, so we're just going to skip it.
That pretty much summarizes Ice Palace. I actually like it as a dungeon and speedrun, because it is a straight shot through, and if you screw it up, it's a big time loss. So it's adequately punishing, despite the fact that we can break it right in half.
Yeah, and short of Ganon's Tower, it's pretty much the most punishing death as far as a boss death goes. So you want to make sure that you are careful on the boss while still going fast. But we're going to see, while TM gets his flippers...
On Muttski's screen there, one of those little black shadows that flies back and forth between the top and the bottom of the screen blocked a sword beam that was intended to kill the jelly that was carrying the key. And then he had to walk over after losing sword beams to slash at the jelly, and of course it electrified, so a little bit of bad luck there.
Yeah, Mutt's going to go into the Cold Stare fight with 4.5 hearts, too. That's something to keep an eye on. He's got 5.5 right now, but he's going to take a damage boost through the yellow spike in this next room.
Yeah, so he'll have 1 hit to give. The Cold Stare Puffs will deal 4 hearts. The ice cubes that fall from the ceiling will deal 2. So we'll be looking for him to have a clean Cold Stare fight.
We'll be right back. I'm going to correct something with my microphone.
Meanwhile, we see Thunder Mustache now into Ice Palace. He's going to be doing the same maneuvers, hopefully not having as bad a luck with the jellies there. And Muttski is going to be dropping into his Cold Stare fight. He needs to have a full magic bar because it will take 8 Fire Rod shots, that's the full bar of magic, to melt the ice that encases Cold Stare, and spend a little bit... Oh no.
Oh no.
That's bad. The puffs are everywhere, the ice cubes are everywhere, and none of them have any damage.
And just like that, the race is flipped.
That is a lead change there.
That is unfortunate. Muttski does not have enough magic to re-enter Ice Palace. He has 2 choices. He can either farm magic outside of Ice Palace, or he can take his losses, go on to Swamp, and come back. He's going to try to farm, and he doesn't get it. So we'll see. He's gonna try for it again. You can go over to Swamp, and complete that dungeon, and you'll get the Mirror Bonk. You can go over to Swamp, complete the dungeon, and get the full magic after the crystal, or you can farm magic here.
TM, down to 1 bomb after falling off the platform, is instead choosing to hover through the bomb jump room, and is through on the 2nd try.
Very nice.
So, nice hover. Unfortunately, he is also at 5 hearts, so I think we may see this spike just to shore up his Cold Stare here.
Meanwhile,
Mutt
gets his full magic. And the race is flipped. That's it. That's all it takes. Every time I see somebody in chat look at an early game death and say game over, nothing's over.
No, 2 of my 3 races, the results became very determined when I died to Cold Stare. So I am very familiar with this death, and it sucks. Because you either have to farm magic, as we saw Muttski do, or you have to go do Swamp to complete it to go get that full magic refill you get from beating the boss. And both of those things kind of suck.
Uh-oh.
Okay, we're good. We're good here.
TM with the low % reflexes, menuing to the hammer.
I know, I was like, you have Tempered Sword, but thinking of it through a low % lens, that hammer menu, pretty reflexive. And Mutt also, not to be one-upped, showing off the hover there around the peg block.
Yeah.
So
he's got to know that he's behind. It's when your opponent is this close, you know a Cold Stare death has put you behind. It's got to be in his mind now, but he has plenty of hearts this time going into the Cold Stare fight.
And I saw Mutt was in the chat earlier before things started, so it's entirely possible that he knows exactly how far behind he is. But
yeah, one thing real quick to as TM moves into the overworld and as Mutt approaches Cold Stare, hovering, it looks really cool. It's really not as hard as it looks. I really do encourage everybody that sees it and thinks it looks cool, find the video tutorials that are out there. Clint Beastwood has one. I have one. Ivan has one, I believe. Give it a shot. You might find that you will be hovering gaps with ease in a few short minutes of practicing.
Yeah, it looks super cool, like you were describing, and I thought, man, that sounds really tough letting go for just 1 frame, but it really wasn't nearly as bad as I would have thought.
Mutt?
Okay. He's made it through.
Yeah, Ivan's hovering tutorial has some interesting camera work that I recommend anybody who has an interest in the finer points of cinematography checks out.
I just had to go back and look and see what tutorial I was using, because it wasn't one of the ones you mentioned. I learned from the LOL It's Evan tutorial.
That's Clint Beastwood.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yep.
I was not familiar with the other name, but yeah, that was quite useful. Sorry.
All right, so TM making his way through swamp. Stop to pick up a bomb. You do need 2. You should have 2 upon leaving swamp. So he grabs one of the guaranteed ones.
Yeah, he will want one of those for Ganon's Tower, and he will want for Mire, and one of those for the Ice Rod Cave.
Yep. And we will be seeing more hovering later on the run. So for you hover aficionados, I recommend that you stay tuned. So Mutt is going to go pick up his Ether Medallion and probably the Ice Rod as TM progresses through Swamp Palace.
Yeah, and this is what we were saying earlier about it kind of being a modular thing, because you're going to need to flute between these locations anyway, and it's largely arbitrary when you choose to do them relative to Mire and Swamp, because you don't need either of those items until you get over to Mire. One of the advantages... Sorry.
It is ostensibly 1 second faster or less to get the hook shot, or to get Ether and to get Ether in the Ice Rod after Swamp if you use the hook dash to climb Death Mountain and the hook climb, but it's pretty easy to mess up as well and negate that time save. So you just get it here. You don't need full hearts going into Swamp. You should be able to get through Swamp without taking a whole lot of damage.
Exactly, that is the trade-off. You do save a little bit of time done optimally doing it after Swamp, but there is the aggro crag risk of losing some health that you basically can't avoid. There are some places to get hearts, some bushes in the Dark World and things that have good heart and fairy drop odds, but you do really want full health going into Misery Mire, so that the runners will have sword beams during Mire 2, so that they can execute that room cleanly. And so many players will choose to get the Ice Rod and Ether Medallion, as we saw Muttski do, prior to going into Swamp, just to ensure they'll have full health when they get over there.
Oh, we did also see our last Japanese 1.0 minor glitch, the mirror block erase. You might have noticed some beep beeps while pushing the block, and then the block was gone. If you use the mirror in a cave or a room where it doesn't have an effect while you are pushing a block, the block will disappear. We use that one time in this category, and if you are into 100%, you'll see it a few times there as well. Muttski also needs to make, well, no, Muttski already got his Ice Rod, so he only needs 1 bomb upon leaving the Swamp.
Both runners are set up exactly so that they have the right number of bombs right now. They actually don't want to get any more bombs. Oh, thundermustache picking up a bomb, so I was wrong. I was going to say for Mire Basement to ensure a free menu over to Fire Rod to save a little bit of time in a switch room. But we'll see if thundermustache elects to burn that bomb, or if he just decides to walk over and hit the switch when he gets there.
Yep. Meanwhile, TM entering the Argus fight, and let's see... Alright, so he's going to use hook dashes here to start off the 0 cycle. He's going to then hook all of these puffs, and he got hit, so he drops the hook dash, but is able to clean it up for a 1 cycle.
Yeah, picking that hook dash back up, and oh, unfortunately, he's going to have to spin. And actually, It looked like he got both those fire rod shots. I was asking about this the other day. Maybe you know, Scrivo. If you get the 2 fire rod shots in cycle 1 on the second part of Argus, but miss the spin, he doesn't die to the spin when he drops down. Do you know what's going on there? Because I can't figure it out.
The actual damage values, there's a paste bin on them that I'd have to pull up. Okay, so, I'm reading that he got a fire rod and a poke.
Okay.
Because it should be 2 fire rods and 1 spin.
That's what it looked like for me. Like that, the numbers bear out that it should be 2 fire rods and a spin. I could never figure out what was going on there, but it looks like fire rod and a poke from chat. So I just did not see it correctly. Thank you.
And Mutt is grabbing the big key and then onto the hook shot into Argus. Meanwhile, TM on the way over to Meyer. But TM does have to stop and pick up some items first. So while the gap, the true indication of the gap is the length of time between when they enter Meyer, as Mutt has already gotten Ether and the Ice Rod, and TM is doing that just now. And you see he's using that hook dash there, and then he's going to do another sword climb right here. Very nice.
Yeah, and he did get that 1 second time save, as best I can tell. That was a very nicely executed screen there with the hook dashes and the spin speed for those stair climbs and sort of the rest of the screen navigation. I guess another thing I don't fully understand, what we saw the runners do was hook dash to get that skull pot there that we just saw Muttski hook himself over to, and if you do that, you'll be able to grab that skull from under that statue on the first try every time when you push the statue up on top of the skull. I have no idea why it works.
Because Link to the Past?
Yeah, because the game's coded great. That was my best guess. But yeah, it's one of the voodoo things that is not obvious watching, but when you know to watch for it, you see a lot of runners do it.
Yeah. Muttski going into the Argus fight here coming up, and TM heading over to Meyer. See if Mutt goes for the 0 cycle. I think he might.
I think we'll see at least an attempt, and so far so good.
Nope. No, he started it late. Let's see if he has enough time. Very nice.
And yeah, he got it set up, and oh, same thing. But yeah, for anyone just joining, I see a question from ACMLM in the chat. Both runners agreed to skip Sanctuary Heart for this race, and I believe if the rest of the wager is Greenham articulated, it is to be believed they'll both be hovering Moldorm 2 as well. So stay tuned for that. It's coming up. And a 2-cycle Meyer 2 for thundermustache, having just a little bit of trouble with that 1 cycle, but still getting through it relatively quickly when compared to not having sword beams.
Yeah. We talk about how, occasionally how broken the game is and all that. And, we kind of laugh at some of the foibles of the coding. But when you think about, this game fits on a floppy disk, and that, the fact, and it's pretty crash resistant. It's pretty hard to actually get this game to straight crash. So it is actually a pretty remarkable piece of software. And as I make that analogy, it occurs to me that half the people in chat have never seen a floppy disk. So I'm old.
Get out now. If my current desktop computer still has a 3.5-inch floppy drive in it, so I'm holding on to my dinosaurs.
Look at these kids. I've used a floppy disk.
Is that the thing that looks like a 3D printed save icon? Yes, yes, it is.
Now listen, unless you have ever gotten out a piece of Scotch tape to make a 5-inch floppy disk readable again, get off my yard.
I can say my experience with 5 1/4 is basically 0. I think a couple times in elementary school I used 5 1/4 for probably like Ultima or something like that was on a 5 1/4. But it's been a long, long while, so I will have to, I guess, bow to seniority here.
Phrasing. I ain't senior. I don't have an AARP card yet. I got a couple of decades until I'm a senior.
Oh man, he was witty enough to catch the shade. I'm done.
So TM's got his cane and is now heading into the basement of Mire. And this is another one of the more dangerous bosses. With all that skipping and bomb jumping we did in Ice Palace, we neglected to get the blue mail, which you would traditionally have by now to half the damage that you're taking. But since we don't have it, you noticed Cold Stare hit pretty hard. Vitreous also hits pretty hard. The little eyes and the big eye will all do 4 hearts of damage if any of them come in contact. So.
Yeah, that compounds with the fact that the strat that we want to use uses quite a few hearts worth of damage in order to quickly kill Vitreous. So I believe the minimum is 4 hearts of damage that the runners will want to be able to take. Very often I end up taking a little bit more than that because it's a fairly tight window. But we'll see how many hearts Thunder Mustache is able to get to that fight with. It looks like he's set up for 7. Which should give him plenty of window, but it's still tough because those eyeballs will hit for 4 hearts apiece if he makes contact with them.
All right, getting into this. Oh, he loses control of the fight. Let's see what happens now. Any hit from an eyeball will kill him.
Yeah, one of the eyeballs sort of came down and got in the way of a poke when he was trying to charge his spin, but he was able to adapt nicely and still get that menu into mirror and clutch that one out. So good adaptation by Thunder Mustache.
So we got a 1-12-24 crystal catch from TM.
And I didn't actually catch either runner's Mire torches time, did you?
109 to 111, so it's about a 2-minute split right now.
Okay, and both runners, especially Thunder Mustache with a 109, not only potentially on PB pace, but definitely on improving tournament bracket seeding pace. For Muttski, it's going to be a little tighter. Him looking to cut a 129.25 might not still be on the menu, but he can still finish up with a nice time.
I'm going to go ahead and call, never say never, but that would be an 18-minute from torches to end. You typically don't get those times unless you are one of the top in the world. So I think 129 is probably dead for Mutt.
Yeah, well, that's my inclination with it as well. But like you said, you never want to rule it out until it's 100% dead. But meanwhile, Thunder Mustache does look to be in good standing to cut his 132.10, so that would improve his bracket seeding.
TM has that's his best race time so far?
Yeah, that's his time for bracket seeding at 39 seed on the current list. And so that's what he's looking to beat for the tournament. His PB, a 129.53. He's still, if he had a 109 flat, still looking good to be competitive with that as well.
Can I say how excited I am that that the old folks are comparing war stories about installing games and software off floppy disks in the chat?
I think you already have, and
I'm very pleased to see this.
I share your joy at this. I'm glad that we've gotten something to bond over. This is exactly why I choose to run nearly 30-year-old games, because the community, it gets me.
So, TM entering Turtle Rock here takes an unfortunate heart of damage there, considering that he's going to take 3 hearts intentionally coming up. Actually, 4 hearts, considering that he's going to hookshot off the platform. And hopefully I didn't pay close enough attention in Skull Woods to see where his prize pack is. I think he's still set up for the fairy.
Yeah, I think he's still set up for his fairy and his full magic if he wants it. But he's going to grab that heart there, just in case. The prize pack is, of course, 50% drops for progressing it. All the enemies in that prize pack have a 50% chance of just dropping anything in, or not anything, but the next item in sequence in that prize pack. This fairy for Muttski being a little bit of a jerk, but getting it. And that pokey for TM there didn't drop anything, just its small key. And Chain Chomps being a little bit of jerks because they do that, but sort of a nice backup there from Thundermustache made it through cleanly.
Yep.
And on Muttski's side, and we saw it on TM's side as well, another subtle instance of item dashing for utilizing this Quake Medallion. You'll see the runners walk right up to the edge, and they'll get this quick first frame quick drop there. Even if they don't get that super speed that we're used to from item dashing, it does put them into a glitch state where they'll hop off of a ledge right away, so still worth going for. And there was the small heart, so the next thing in that prize pack for TM is the fairy. That prize pack, not only blue guards and these pokies, but also mini Moldarms. And what are we seeing on Muttski's screen?
No, he's not. This is not a thing that a human being does.
So
this
far,
is not a thing that a human being does. If he pulls this off, I will go and literally eat a hat-shaped object, which may or may not be a tortilla chip, but we'll see.
I'll match you. I will go eat a Girl Scout cookie.
He's trying to get
not hat-shaped.
Item.
Oh!
Ah.
Go for
That would have been the highlight of the tournament.
Absolutely.
Doing that in RTA is one of the holy grails, because there's a category called Mirror Shield, which you get the surprise Mirror Shield as quickly as possible, and being able to do that in an RTA setting would literally break that category. So I would have been very excited to see that pulled off, but not today.
Yeah, that is incredibly, incredibly difficult. I won't even attempt it. not RTA, not even on the practice ROM. That's one I won't go near. I have probably years of practice ahead of me before I'm willing to go for that. It was super cool to see it attempted, though. So props to Muttski for showing us that. Having tried to hover the Trinex gap in one of my tournament races, I will not begrudge anybody for messing around with hovers. It is, if you can do it, like I said, it's not that hard, but if you can do it and you can do it well, go fly, my man. Yeah. And that's one of the things I like about this category, where it's, if you can go execute that, you are fully allowed to do it. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's not impossible. And so it's good to see a good range of runners going for those hover strats.
TM into the Trinex fight, using a little bit more magic than he wants, but he should be fine here.
Yep,
All right.
He is A-okay. He's got hits to give. So he's going to go for a double spin and a slash here, and that'll clean this one up. And only getting one spin, 3 slashes, but still fair, still through the fight.
There's the fairy and the full magic for Mutt.
So we're gonna see Muttski go using sword beams here in the roller key room a little faster than Kane's strats because his health is full. See if we get another hover here, because you know when the 129's dead, his seed is locked in. Yeah.
So a funny thing, there's a glitch guide that exists from like the early 2000s, and it talks about hover. It calls it the levitation trick. And it explains that the levitation trick cannot possibly be performed on a real console because it requires 30 hertz perfect mashing, and no turbo controller can do that, and it can only be done on an emulator. And I basically want to find the guy that wrote that guide and be like, yeah, what now? Because
that's excellent. I was unaware of that little piece of history.
Dude. No! Muttski!
Why?
Snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
So close. Oh, the ignominy of the slow platform ride back to the bottom of the room.
Oh,
made it through. He knew how to do the maze. He had the backup strats in place.
He tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter.
And that beetle is like hanging out in a very jerk position, so he had to lure it out. But gets his Smulky, he'll be making his way over to the Trinex fight as well.
Alright, so TM progressing through Ganon's Tower, Muttski approaching Trinex. He's gonna hover this Trinex cap, I'm almost positive. Almost positive. Oh.
That's what I should practice on for sure. Looks like a fun hover. But I'm looking forward to seeing these Moldorm 2 hovers coming up. So far, a clean Trinex from Mutz. See if he gets his double spin here.
He's a little low.
Yeah. Thundermustache coming up on his Ice Armos fight. His arrow situation just perfect. We'll see if he chooses to grab an extra pot of arrows, or extra skull full of arrows, or chest, but it does not look like he's going to, so hopefully all 18 of these arrows connect.
Yep.
And yeah, it looks like he's going to get through just fine. Nicely done, Ice Armos. But he is going to want 9 arrows for upper Ganon's Tower, so we're going to see him grab the the chest here of these 3 on the upper left and get the 10 arrows out of that, and that'll set him up for upper GT. And so we saw him fire 1, because he doesn't have full health, didn't have sword beams to hit that switch, fire 1 arrow, and then immediately start walking down. That brought that red Mimic up and out of the way. And a nice Mimics 1, onto Mimics 2, so far so good, and yeah, he is through, has used his arrows to full effect.
No bow dash, though. I am disappointed. Gets through the spike room with... He's down to 4 hearts. He may visit the Josh Fairies.
I would not begrudge anyone from a 4-heart standpoint here taking a little bit of safety before Gauntlet, but no, he is all in, using that last arrow on that Stalfos there, and not even getting that heart drop from that Zazak. He is all about it.
As a no EG runner, I respect the 4-heart Ganon's Tower. It's really the only way to play Ganon's Tower.
So far, so good. Menuing over to Fire Rod.
Good use of the menu buffer there.
Yeah.
Uses that to read the top horse head.
And Beamos being a jerk.
What was that delayed heart? I'm going to have to go back and look at that because the beam hit him and it took like a half a second for it to actually take the heart away from him.
Yeah, I thought it might have been related to the door transition because I think he was trying to get into the door, but I'm not certain. It was unusual looking.
Ah, the rare 3-cycle Fire Rod Landmo 2. Grabs that heart.
And now we're going to see some cane strats on these Wizrobes. Thankfully, they set themselves up in sort of convenient cardinal orientations to one another so that we can abuse the cardinal breaking of Canis Samaria blocks to do cool-looking things to kill him quickly. Makes it through both Wizrobe rooms, no problem, and he's going to be on to torches as Muttski heads for his Ice Armos fight.
Yeah, crosses the bridge of Fuzda without a problem.
That's a name I'm going to have to ask about, because I'm not familiar with that as Bridge of Fuzda.
It's in chat.
All right. And getting blocked a little by the spark there, but thankfully his magic was in good sorts.
Yep.
And getting the magic refill there, and we'll see. Are we headed for the? We are headed for the Moldorm 2 hover. Very little setup time, and he is through.
Very nice.
Nice hover, Thunder Mustache. Nicely done.
Mutt having a little bit of problems here in Mimics.
Thunder Mustache still on really nice pace, so let's see what sort of Aga 2 he's able to get.
Okay, gets one on Aga 2 there.
And I think only one of those counted, too.
Yep.
That should have been 2.
Yep.
Oh. It was there for the taking, but unfortunately, got a 5-cycle.
And violating a corpse.
Kinda rude. But I think it was actually just Ganon teleport RNG manip. I think he's setting himself up for no teleports. And so I will highlight as Thunder Mustache drops into the Ganon fight to 132.10. And so if he can finish this fight cleanly, he's going to be improving his bracket seating.
Alright, let's see how he does here. He's got the 1-cycle phase 1. And it looks like he's got the 1-cycle phase 2. So gets the nice 1-1. Takes a bat, so he cannot take any... No, he does not get the 1-cycle phase 2.
Yeah, that must have been a hit or two short there. But gotta dodge these bats. Okay, and he's on to phase 3.
Yeah, but he still cannot take a hit from anything. Everything from here on out will do 2 hearts of damage and kill him.
Thankfully, Ganon phases 3 and 4, much lower risk than at least phase 2 from a damage-taking standpoint, but he still does need to execute, and that RNG manip not paying off.
I just want to hit Ganon. That's all.
Gets his torch glitch, and we are now 11 and now 10 spins from dispatching Ganon, and from thundermustache finishing up. Meanwhile, Muttski is going to be coming up on his Moldorm 2 hover, so be sure not to miss that. And there it is, both players getting their first try Moldorm hovers as thundermustache is spinning to win here on Ganon. There it goes.
And Mutt is entering into the Agatu fight. We'll see if we can get TM into chat.
And looks like a 1:30:48 to me on the timer. But thundermustache on speedracing.tv has finished. Click that done button with an official time of 1 hour, 30 minutes, 52 seconds, improving his best tournament time by over 1 minute. So GG and congrats on the win to thundermustache. Nice hovers. And yeah, we'll see if he comes in to chat with us.
Muttski has a nasty habit of dying to Aghanim. But not today. Not today.
Yeah, and I just checked the current bracket seeding. Thundermustache was 39 seeded, and if everything holds, he will now be 31 seeded. So improving his seeding by 9 places or 8 places there. So that's a nice little improvement there for that result. That's gonna, if it holds, put him in the top half of the bracket.
Yeah. As Muttski falls into the Ganon fight, a little bit low on health, but
yeah, he's got
downward facing Ganon.
One hit KO Ganon. Here we go.
I don't think he wanted to hook out of that.
No, every time I get that Ganon position, I always hook that torch, and I just need to teach myself. Oh no. Well, taking a little bit of a rub there. And even a rub is enough to deal 2 hearts of damage, so thankfully he'll have more to work with on this second fight.
Unfortunately, that also means that when he gets to phase 2, he's going to have a totally unpredictable bat pattern. So he'll have to be careful.
Yeah, what Scrivo is mentioning there, as Mutt looks to be setting up for a nice 1-on-1 here. What he was highlighting is that the bats in phase 2 and how they scatter is based on the amount of time you spend in certain places, including the Ganon fight, or with the bat patterns in the Ganon fight, as well as in the Armos Knight fight. So most runners will know the pattern for when they get the Ice Armos quick kill, and will have to kind of sight read other patterns. So this will be an unfamiliar pattern for Mutt that he was navigating, but he does a nice job.
Yeah. Due to the delay on the start of this race, because of TM's little nappy poo that he had to take, we are unfortunately going to be unable to get either of the runners in here for a post-race chat. We're going to be moving straight on as soon as Ganon dies to the next race.
We have a 10 p.m. NMG race, Walrus Prime versus Tina Hacks. I don't know if that's what's coming up on this channel, but if you do want more Link to the Past NMG, that's on the menu for tonight.
Yeah, let's go over the schedule real quick. Coming up next is Walrus Prime versus Tina Hex here on Speed Gaming. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., Shady Forest versus Magus. Speed Gaming 2, 12 p.m., Negazoos versus Crustgator. Speed Gaming 2, 1 p.m., Korak versus Mr. Wonder. Speed Gaming 4, 2 p.m., Joe D'Amelio versus Muttski. Speed Gaming 2, and 3 p.m., Zatox versus Simple Dude. Speed Gaming 3, 6 p.m., Skarsnik versus Kid Boo, not scheduled for a channel yet. Also at 6 p.m., Joe D'Amelio versus Natasha. And that is a full day of races tomorrow. So stay tuned here for Walrus Prime versus Tina Hex. You're going to hear the dulcet tones of Eudaimonistic on commentary. But Muttski finishes up with a 1:34.36. TM takes the win and the improved bracket seating. And that's going to wrap it up for us. So... Any final thoughts, Maniacal?
No, congrats to both runners for advancing to brackets, Thunder Mustache for improving his seeding. You summed up very nicely what we have coming up for the NMG tournament here over the next day. And I will reiterate, stay tuned for the dulcet tones of Eudaimonistic. I got to commentate with him yesterday, and it was a treat. He is a treat to commentary, and I'm sure that race, Walrus Prime versus Teen Hex, is also going to be fantastic. So thank you for joining me, Scrivo, and helping carry me through this one. It's been a joy.
Well, with that, I have been and will continue to be Scrivo. Stay tuned to Speed Gaming. We've got more Zelda. Have a good night, everybody.
Welcome back, Speed Gamers from around the world. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are in the world. I'm Eudaimonistic, and thank you for tuning in for another No Major Glitches 2018 Spring Tournament match. We have a very exciting one for you. The last one, full of energy, a lot of hovering. I don't know if we're going to see any hovers today, but we have two really great racers for you. I've actually already commentated for Walrus, I think for his other 2 matches, one of them a quad, where we had a 2-race format, but Tina Hacks I haven't had the opportunity to commentate for. So Walrus, everybody knows him, very fast runner, also the originator of the the bird toss itself. And of course, Tina Hacks, if you haven't watched her, has been grinding the NMG category for a considerable amount of time this year, putting in tons of work. So I'm really excited to see what kind of run we're going to get out of both of these runners today. Should be a very competitive race. They've both been working really hard to make this happen. Well, it looks like our runners are finishing up their setup right now, just as a kind of, just a touch on their PBs. Looking that up right now. Tina Hacks, the most recent verified one was 25 days ago for this tournament, pretty much. She had a 138.22. I'm of the belief that she probably has cut it down since then. And Walrus Prime, his PB is in 43rd place with a 128.13. So Walrus here looking to try to improve his time. Tina Hacks is actually trying to fight for her place in the group. Very competitive group, which, for all we know, it could come down to who has the best race time. Pulling up the challenge now because the challenge page is going to tell us the actual rankings, because I believe Tina is 1-1. Yeah, so Tina's 1-1 here. Walrus Prime has won 2 of his matches, so he has the go-ahead to proceed in the tournament, provided that there isn't some strange 3-way tie. But having won his head-to-head matches, he should be in good shape here. But Tina looking to make her way above Feral Pigman in the group with an impressive race time today. Oh, and Tina in chat saying their current PB is 133.09, which is a phenomenal improvement in 1 month. Holy smokes. And Walrus has a 127, so that's going to be impressive to see if he can, stack on that or even just get that fast of a time. That would be an amazing time proceeding. We're getting a nice little preview of the Ganon fight. Walrus Prime putting in a little bit of last-second work to see if he can get his 1-1s down. Very important boss fight to practice regularly. We have 4 different RNG patterns that can happen as far as the warps go. So our runners have to be ready for every single instance that can happen here. I feel like there's some kind of reference here on Tina's screen, but I don't know it. But the name and the character for the third file, I'm a fan. One of the things that our runners will do in this tournament, we always like to make sure, hey, that everything's, fresh. It's actually happening RTA. As a rule in this tournament setting, we actually exchange file names, 1 character file names, which we have to run with. Just to kind of make sure everybody's on equal footing. There are ways that you could, for example, manipulate the RAM of the game. So we do like a fresh reset. And that appears to be why we have the third file selected, because the other 2 are just names. We also get to see Walrus Prime was taking great advantage of a practice hack we have in the community made by Poor Little Pincus. The practice hack, a fantastic way to either via save state or presets, work on pretty much any section of the game you want. Yeah, I suppose that does look exactly like speed gaming. I just, usually err on the side of I'm probably wrong anyway. So that worked out for the better anyway. I got the explanation. Appreciate you telling me. And of course, we all know what a big day is. Walrus Prime not being shy about that. We are going to get started here.